Dude, thank you so much for coming, man. First podcast, guys. First one ever. One of my very good friends, Olly Atkins, man. How's it going, man? How are you doing,
Good.
bro?
Thank you for having me, brother.
Of
It's a
course,
pleasure to
man.
be
Of
here.
course.
It's exciting. This is also my first
This
podcast.
is
So
my first podcast ever. I've never done this before. We literally spent an hour trying to make sure that both cameras are actually working
yeah, you got to get the
so we can
settings
get
right.
the right audio, the right video, the right everything. But I'm pretty stoked. How about you? How are you feeling?
No, I'm super stoked. I mean,
Yeah?
yeah, it's interesting having everything I say recorded, but it's good. You know what? At this point, we've done enough self tapes and everything where it's
Yeah.
I have learned to give up on my own
Mm-hmm.
preciousness
Yeah.
with my
Yeah.
appearance.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and that's amazing. First podcast.
Yeah, I've never done another podcast. I have yet to have any podcasting friends who
Yeah,
you know, do it up.
I mean,
and-
I watched some of them online, but I've never done it myself.
yeah.
I've always wanted to, so
I mean, it's super
here we
fun.
are. Yeah.
I like the idea you just have a good conversation,
Mhm.
enjoy your time.
What better on a what are we today? Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday?
Jesus Christ, Thursday, I think.
On a nice Wednesday night, what's better to do? So, like, just sit
Seriously,
down, chat, have a good time.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, cool. So I was like, I brought myself some. I was actually looking at your IMDb
Oh
because I
God.
went. So Ollie and I, we met in acting class. We went together to Deb Badowski. It's actually how we got in, acquainted
Yeah,
with
that's how
each
we got
other.
in touch.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Like you started acting with Deb. That was the first time you actually started.
No, so that was my second. I did one round of acting classes at Railtown Studios with John Cassini.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't do my first classes with John, but I did my first very introductory classes. I did a scene study and a voice class,
Mhm.
and then after that, I came to try out Deb, and then I went back to Railtown after. But
Okay, so you tried Railtown. You were working with John, and then you took a little kind of a just quick switch to Deb.
yeah, well, I just wanted to make sure, when I was, it was funny. After my first classes with John, I was like,
Yeah.
I know this is the place
You
to be.
you knew he was the guy.
He was just we get along so well.
Yeah.
And I think he's just such a wonderful teacher and such an experienced guy.
Yeah.
And just a blast to hang out with too.
Nice.
Um,
I know. I think I trained with Railtown once, but I also trained with Brian Markinson.
Brian's sick.
Yes, he's
I haven't
amazing.
done a class with him yet, but everyone that I talked to loves
I trained
him.
with Brian when he was doing a workshop at Haven Studios. So I did like a weekend intensive with him, and he was amazing. Like he gave me a comedy scene. I honestly it was just a blast to work with him.
Yeah.
So I know he was
Wait, did you do? Oh, okay. So that was at Haven. So that wasn't because at Railtown he's normally the scene study guy.
Yeah, so I think at the time, I'm not sure if he was working at Railtown at the time, but he gave a workshop at Haven. So I'm not sure if he was at Railtown or not, but
Right.
I know that
He's been there for a while, so I
Yeah.
would imagine so.
Mm-hmm.
But
Also,
how did you enjoy it? Was it a good time?
Oh, it was amazing. It was great. It was also one of the first on-camera class.
Right.
It was on camera, kind of an audition style. And yeah, he's just very tight with the cues, and he knows exactly what to tell you to
Yeah.
kind of get you where you need to be. No, I honestly loved working with him. He was great. Okay, cool.
This is actually before you go on to your next question
Yeah.
or my IMDb. Dear God.
I was honestly, man, the first thing. Okay, I gotta say. I was actually looking you up on IMDb, and I don't think I've ever. Do you know the star meter from IMDb?
Yeah.
Okay, I looked at your star meter, and you're at 35,000, and you have one credit.
Oh, that's not bad.
I don't think I've seen this before.
Right.
Literally unheard of. I mean, obviously,
That's so funny, man.
it's
Yeah, IMDb star
literally
meter. I've made it.
35K right now. It's literally 35K, and it says one credit.
Right.
I don't know how you pulled that off.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, to be fair,
You must have a killer of an agent.
Well, my agent is amazing. Shout out to Sean. IMDb star meter, I don't think is the be all end all. But yeah, I got my first credit on IMDb a week ago.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that here. It says the 5-year Christmas party.
What a show.
Do you want to walk us through that? So what is this? What's up with that? How did you even get this?
So the 5-year Christmas party is a fantastic Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
You should go watch it now. It's on Prime. You have to get like a little extra
Oh,
subscription thing,
it's
but like,
available.
yeah,
Oh,
it's out. It came out like a week ago.
amazing. Yeah, I'll definitely give it a watch for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm by far the least important and least talented of all of the people that are on that movie.
We all start somewhere. I mean, considering that you
absolutely no, but it's Katie Finley, Jordan Fisher, Zinnia, Jeff Avenue.
Yeah.
Like absolutely just the most wonderful people in the world that you could ever ask to work with, and incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really fun because that was my first professional acting experience. I'm lucky to have had a few since then. But that was the first one, and it was kind of total BS.
Really?
Because I was like 6 on the call sheet.
You asked your way in? Insane.
Well, I didn't. Well, I mean, yes, because like frankly, anybody with like my level of experience should not be getting that role.
Right.
But I'm very, very grateful I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really interesting because it was 5 days of shooting total. I didn't have.
So it was 5 days on set?
Yeah, 5 days on set over 3 weeks.
And you were the least important character.
I was the least important. I think I was like 6 on the call sheet or something.
You got 5 days?
I was the least important of the main characters. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Is I got really lucky because it was like 5 days split over. Yeah, I literally had in total
5 days
I
on
think
set
like
and you're the least
15
important
lines.
character. I mean,
yeah,
that's
that's what I'm saying. I totally lucked out. So no, it was sweet, and more importantly, it gave me. I've been on set a lot before, but I've never. Before that, I had never been on set as an actor before.
Yeah, because you told me you have like a background with like more like behind the camera kind of.
100%. Yeah, I grew up working in the film industry, and you know, I've worked in the office, I've worked on set, I've you know, carried the garbage cans and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Done the PA thing.
Right.
But that
brought coffee to the director and all that stuff.
Of course. No, but that was my first experience on set as an actor. And to get 5 days where truthfully, I didn't have to worry about that much because I didn't have a lot of weight to carry in the story.
Yeah.
I just got to really watch and really understand where people go, how people act. Because there's a lot of things about acting that you don't learn in acting class.
Yeah.
And you don't learn watching films. And you also... Oh my God! I thought I silenced my phone. Sorry.
Right, that's all
my
good.
auction.
It's all good. Is that your auction thing?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, so for reference, I'm trying to
buy
this vintage lamp. Right let me see. I got 14 minutes. We're good.
Okay. Yeah, tell them what was this auction thing? Because I think a lot of them probably lost us what's happening.
So I've recently gone down a rabbit hole of local auctions because I'm trying to furnish my apartment.
Interesting.
And there's some great deals to be had. Oh. And there's this really cool set of vintage lamps from a guy named Louis Signot, who was a French designer predominantly worked in the 50s.
Okay.
And he designed a bunch of really, really nice mid-century modern lamps and stuff out of bamboo and fabric. And like completely by chance, I came across these lamps and they're way cheaper than they should be. Like I'm trying to buy them right now for like $180 for the pair, and they're worth about like $3,000 a piece. So that's what the only reason that this podcast is.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I have not made enough money to buy full price furniture. All right.
Okay, I love that. It's great.
Where were we though before I so rudely interrupted?
You were talking about like your experience behind the camera and like all that stuff.
Oh yeah, so. Yeah, like there's not a lot of people that tell you, like there's not a lot of ways to learn. If you have a mentor, it helps a lot. If you have like either a really solid coach who cares to give you the time, or are just friends with more experienced actors or that sort of thing, who can really help you understand the things like hitting your marks, how to interact with the second AD, all that kind of information. Even stuff like when you show up and go to your trailer, like you got to go check in at the AD's office. You got to get your sides. Do you go to hair and makeup first? All this kind of stuff. Like it's not really like the important part of the craft, but it's also just sort of things that really, until you learn them for the first time, it makes you self-conscious about your experience level. And I know like the first day I rocked up on set as an actor, I had like the 20 minutes of where I'm like, oh, I'm the coolest guy in the world. I'm an actor today. You know what I mean? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
And then I'm
We've all
like,
been there actually.
and then I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to do anything. I don't know where to go.
I think we all had like these first time experiences, but so like I
Definitely.
remember like, ooh,
It's scary, but it's good, you know, and it's like, it's certainly, I think, at least for me, it felt a little bit like a rite of passage to go down that road and to like
yeah,
feel that fear and go, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing.
right,
But then suddenly, once you get through it, you have that little piece of pride, and you're like, okay, I'm a real actor. I've done it for real.
yeah,
I've had my first day on set.
yeah.
I've looked like an idiot to everybody.
So was that like your first? So the 5-year Christmas party thing, was that your first professional acting
Yes.
experience?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think you mentioned also that you've also booked something recently. Is this?
Yeah, I've done a couple of other shows. The cast lists are not released for it yet, so
Okay.
I won't get into them too much.
Right.
But
Are you allowed to talk about them, or you can't like?
yeah, I'll talk about the honestly,
Right.
I don't really know. But
Right.
I'll err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
But I did one. They're both really small parts, but I did one on a feature up in Kelowna, which is cool, an indie feature.
Nice.
That's going to be really neat. And then I did one on a horror feature down in Victoria, which was really, really cool.
Sick. So you were in Victoria lately?
Yeah, Victoria.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hmm.
I knew that you were in Kelowna shooting something. I didn't know that the Victoria also. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that was pretty recent.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I
Amazing.
might have a
So
couple other things.
two
But
features.
yes.
And then they're like two like different projects, right? Like they're not the same thing.
Totally different things. Yeah.
Nice.
Very different. Like you could not make two more different movies, but
I haven't actually had my feature film credit yet. All I've been booking so far have been shows.
right.
So I'm still looking for my first.
Well, there's a lot more shows
Yeah.
up here, and the other thing is like there's so many more parts on shows.
Yeah.
You know, you get a
There really
procedural
is, yeah.
something. There's 14 episodes.
Right.
There's 15 characters on each episode.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, like considering that you, I mean, quote unquote, started acting. You told me like last year, which was like your first or like.
I'm coming up on like the 1-year anniversary of. I think I took my first class at the end of summer last year.
I mean, considering that you started acting like what, like about a year ago, that's honestly very impressive.
I mean,
It's not like it's no small feat.
I do feel like I'm getting away with something, like because you know.
I mean, look, I know people who've been like in the game for like 4 or 5 years and they haven't booked a single thing.
Yes.
And I mean, you've literally been doing this for like a year, and then you've got like what 2 or 3 credits on your belt already. So
yeah.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, like
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know for a fact that I have gotten really, really lucky so far.
Yeah.
You know, I've also been working my ass off.
So what do you mean when you
but-
said like you've been really lucky? What do you mean by that? Like, did you?
Well, you know, there's a few things that I think are the way I feel about acting and like creative output in general, and
Yeah.
getting to share your work
Right.
is, whether that be acting or anything else,
Mhm.
is there is a huge amount of stars that have to align.
Mm-hmm.
And your job is to take as many shots as you can,
Yep.
and then control anything that is in your power to control,
Mhm.
and then try to be okay with whatever happens,
Right.
you know, and still like maintain your happiness as a creative soul.
Yep.
So I know I've gotten lucky. It's like, yes, I've put in the work into the auditions.
Mhm.
Yes, I have done a ton of auditions at this point.
Yeah.
But also, the luck factor is like, hey, there's a role that has come up where I'm the right age, I'm the right look, I'm the right tone or like feeling for the character, and then the casting assistant usually has to like you, the casting director has to like you,
Yeah.
and then the director has to like you, and then the director has to send you off to the network or the studio,
Right.
and
hope
then
for the best. Yeah.
the producers have to like you.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's so many layers where you have to just
Yeah. It's like
be
going.
in the right place at the right time.
It's like this analogy where you made that like this guy has to like you, and then it has to go for the producers and then the execs or whatever. It's like you go on this like on this dating app where you have to go through like a bunch of like different girls. So this one has to like you, and then if this one likes you, then you move to the higher stage
Right.
where like you get like this one has to like you, and if it must like you. Until you
Something
get
like
to the
that.
top where like
Yeah.
the ultimate one actually end up liking you, and she does. then you're in.
Yes. Yeah, something like that for sure. Um,
Oh man, it's funny.
well, totally. It's like, or like a, yeah, I grew up watching like American Idol
Oh,
with
did
my
you?
family.
That's
You
good.
know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you got to get through the early auditions, and then you got to get the ticket to Hollywood or whatever. And then once you
Right.
get the ticket to
Right.
Hollywood, you have to,
Yeah.
there has to be, people have to like you, and people have to vote for you, and you have to choose the right song, and then and then your job is to perform it well once you've chosen a song.
Yeah.
And ultimately you got to choose a good song too that suits you and fits you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't get to choose the song.
No.
We just get the audition, and then it's like, well,
That'd be too good. Yeah. Yeah.
all I have is like these sides
Yeah.
and my ability as an actor to analyze and then try to serve the story. And also like, there's a casting director that I really respect named Sophie Holland, and she does a lot of work. She's a UK casting director, and she actually has a great podcast episode that is well worth watching, where she talks about the casting process in depth. And one of the big things she talks about is, what can you bring to a character that only you can bring to a character? So like, yes, you have to serve the script, you have to get the lines right, you have to hit the beats and get the rhythm of the scene right.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Yeah.
But what choice can you make and knock out of the park that no other actor in the city or that's going out for the part can make? Like,
Right.
how do you put that intrinsic
And I
piece
think that
of
that's
you
kind of what
into
would
your work?
set you apart, because it's a very like difficult question to kind of answer too, right? Because you look at a script and like you're looking at it, and then you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do this a certain way, but at the same time, like, oh, like a lot of other people will actually do this a certain like this way too. So therefore, let me try this differently, right? So it's very easy to kind of get into your head as to like what you want to do, because you want to stand out so much
Yeah.
that you're like caught into this loophole where you're like, okay, I want to do something different that'll stick.
Yeah.
And then, by the time you choose something, you kind of like lost the essence of like what your goal even is in the scene.
Well, and it can feel a little bit contrived.
Yeah.
Like, it just not not because you can fake grounded too, but like it just doesn't, it starts to get away from like that special little unknowable essence of a performance or
Yeah.
you as a character or a person. I think I had a thought about this. I can't remember. Anyways, it was I think it was something along the lines of like, where it's you don't want to get in the way of your own,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that special little thing. You want to have put in the work and
Yeah.
made the choices and everything,
Yeah.
so that it comes easy, and it feels like it's just flowing out of you.
Right. Because I feel like, honestly, like I get this a lot too, like where I've literally asked, and I think a lot of like acting and actors and coaches agree on this, where when you actually trying to make a choice as like, regarding a certain action that you're doing or like a certain line or something, it's very important to kind of like really stay focused on the goal. Because if you focus on, okay, you know what, this is a line where I have to try to cry on this because it's sad.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah, so I
If
just
you're
feel
like, if you are ever thinking, I need to cry now,
Right.
you're screwed.
again, it's not. No, I couldn't agree more. I just feel like also, it's not just about like the emotion, but like sometimes like, oh, you know what? There's a million ways of actually saying this line, and if I just say it like this, I won't stand out. But at the same time, like if you're just staying truthful
Yeah.
to your goal and you're going after what you want, I mean, it'll look different to a certain extent.
Well, oh, you know what? You actually just absolutely landed on what I wanted to say, which was, by the very nature of you doing it, if you have done the work to where you sort of get out of your own way and you're not really thinking about the lines and you're not really thinking about like the blocking or
Yeah.
like the beats you have to hit, and all of that is just in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Having done that work will let you make choices that are natural to you and therefore unique in and of themselves. I think, at least in my own experience, when I try to do that thing where I'm like, I'm going to do something really weird or something super funky for this, I need to stand out, this audition is flat or whatever.
Yeah.
Every once in a while it works because it just sort of throws you for a loop, and then you have something interesting to do.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it just goes off the rails, and you're just
Yeah.
like, well, that's just weird. And you watch it back, and you're like, that just looks like a guy doing something strange in front of a camera, So, yeah, I think
Oh man.
for me at least, the most important part of the process
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
getting out of my own way,
Mm-hmm.
so that the interesting little
Yeah.
bits of life and my personality
Yeah.
end up there.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then the words do the work, right? Like the script does the work.
Yeah.
The script tells you who your character is.
Yeah.
The script, it tells you what's happening.
Yep.
And then the rest is up to you. But
Yeah. Again, yeah, it's about just like giving it some life. You know what I mean? Like obviously the words are on the page. There's a lot in the words that are happening, but it is kind of your job to really just like lift it off the page and make it look interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's reading this, I mean, they might not have they're not gonna have a good time like reading a script rather than watching the actual thing, because that's what actually makes a good actor, if they can actually make something interesting out of the lines, even if the lines themselves are super boring.
Yeah.
Like the plainest
Yeah.
lines.
I mean, that's an incredible skill.
You know what I mean?
That is a skill I have not mastered yet, which is, I'm not sure I ever will. But like, you see those actors sometimes where you could hand them a phone book.
Yeah.
And
straight up. Yeah.
And it'll sound like Shakespeare. And I think that's an immense talent.
It's very impressive what they do. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little kind of, because right now, for the first time, like whoever's like watching this, and this is like since it's our first podcast. Again, this podcast is called Breakthrough. Okay, so again, for whoever is listening to this, the idea is to just really inspire the listeners and whoever's tuning in to go after their dreams and their goals by watching someone who is either like done it or is on the way to doing it, basically, right? Again, a lot of people are just watching and they've got so many goals, whether that's landing a job or like making money or reaching wealth or getting their first gig, whatever that is. I really believe that listening or watching to someone who's been there or who's on the road to get there really help and give some sort of hope for these people to go after their dreams. So again, yeah, this is kind of what this podcast is about and what we're doing and all these different future guests that we'll have. But Olly is definitely one of them, and he's on his way to become an amazing actor.
Well, that's very generous, and thank you. That's very optimistic of you. We'll see.
I mean, yeah, we have to be optimistic.
That's true enough.
So, I'm just like wondering. So I know that you also like said that you mentioned before that you've done music, right?
Yeah, a little bit, like just
dabbled
on a purely hobby level.
Right.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't call yourself a singer or anything?
No, definitely not a singer. I mean, I like to sing.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it.
Right.
But it's nice. It's fun.
What's the best song you've ever sang? I mean, maybe yeah.
Well, first of all, I just want to address that if this is a trap to try to get me to sing on this podcast, that is not happening.
I mean, we've got the SM7B, right?
No, absolutely not.
We're geared up.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no. Ooh, that's tough, actually. That's really tough.
Fine. I want to get you to sing, unless you want to.
Oh, you know what's like a really corny song that I absolutely, not corny, but it's like a corny choice to love to sing this song.
Right.
City of Stars from La La Land.
Oh.
Is an incredibly fun song to sing.
Did you nail that one?
Yeah. Every time I nail that song. Okay. Come on.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so let's just put it up.
Okay, bring up the lyrics. We have the bare instrumental here.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah,
I'm walking out.
Honestly, I took some singing lessons last year. Actually, not singing. Sorry.
Did you really? That's awesome.
Voice lessons. Correction, my bad.
Yeah, similar.
I was taking some voice lessons in the hopes of transitioning into singing lessons eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So you've dabbled with singing. You never really took it to any sort of like professional level or anything.
No, honestly, like the music thing for me was more of a nerd thing than like a.
Yeah.
You know,
so
I
one
love
of those like grown up.
I love like digital synths and like audio interfaces and like the making of music was always something that I was more interested in.
Yeah.
I grew up competing in jazz competitions and that sort of thing, playing tenor sax.
Really?
So yeah, the musicality was always the more interesting. I mean, it's all interesting, but that was the part I was more familiar with, and like the creation of sound and soundscape and the sort of pursuit of like creating a feeling,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, to me, a lot of parts of creativity are essentially variations of the same theme, or at
Mhm.
least they all have the same soul in
Yeah.
them. And it's, you know, whether it's acting or whether it's making music or even drawing or something or singing, it's all taking like a creative piece of yourself and using it to tell a story. And I think
Absolutely.
that's what ties it all together for me. So
Yeah.
honestly, if I could have a career in any of these fields, I would feel truly blessed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. Again, I don't think there's any pressure on us to like, you know, if you want to be an actor or like a singer.
They all
It
help
really,
each other too.
I mean, they do. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like being an actor, definitely being a singer. Sorry, definitely helps you if you want to become an actor because you know you already know like you can go for these singing roles, or if you need to play with your voice, you're gonna
Mhm.
have an easier time because you know all the highs and lows.
Well, and just having the experience and the confidence to put
Yeah.
yourself out there
Mm.
in a non-traditional sense. I mean, it's traditional, but like
Yeah.
you know, you're not doing a PowerPoint presentation.
No,
Like
you're
if
not.
you're
Yeah.
getting up on stage and belting out a song,
Right. Right.
that
Not
takes some
presenting anything.
cojones
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. So, I was just like wondering because obviously for a lot of people who are watching right now or listening, because you know you've obviously got like what 3 credits under your belt already, and
Yeah.
within a year.
Yeah.
So, what's your like, what's your process? Like, how do you prep for auditions? What do you do? Like how like you know once from the moment you actually get the breakdown from your agent,
Yeah.
where do we go from there? Like, what do you like? How do you prepare?
The first thing I do is when I get sides,
Yep.
I read a scene or a selection of scenes or whatever. And if I'm lucky, I get a script. I sit there and I just imagine how I would want to watch the scene.
Interesting.
Like
Yeah.
not as if I try not to go straight to my lines. I try not to like think too much. I'll just look at the context of a scene. What is everybody doing? Like what do they care about in a scene? What does everybody want? What do all the characters want?
Mhm.
And then I sort of just read it a couple times and then I'll lay back on my couch and I'll just try to imagine it. And
Yeah.
I'll imagine it from the perspective of if I was sitting in a theater or on my couch watching this, um, what does this look like? And I try to like create that in my mind.
Right.
And then
So you kind of like paint a picture of what you would want to watch, or like what you would want the scene to look like
yeah,
in a nutshell.
yeah. Like I try to start pretty broad because
Right.
I think the longer you can put off
Mhm.
making you have to make really strong decisions,
Yeah.
but the longer you can put that off,
Mhm.
the better. Because the longer you can dream about what a scene is or who a character is, the more you have to draw from, and the more pieces of Lego, I guess, to like build a character and build a scene from, and the more directions you can go, and the more discovery there is when you start to tape or when you start to rehearse a scene.
Yeah.
It's just more exciting and it's more fun.
It really is.
So
Yeah.
I just try to start wide
Nice.
and then sort of narrow down.
So you start wide. You start by looking at the scene. You give it the sort of a feeling in the beginning, and then what you so and then what do you do? Do you break down the script? Do you give some some quick runs where you start like already putting it on its feet, or like how much of it is script work? How much of it is on the feet? Like where do you go?
Most of it is on the feet.
Okay.
So if it's a really big set of sides, like
Mhm.
let's say I have like a 14-page audition or something,
Right.
which comes in every once in a while,
Okay.
and they always have like a 2-day turnaround because that's the way it works now.
I mean, they've been like trying to change. Like, I think they're advocating for like a change, especially
Yeah, we'll see.
with the strike and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, the more that I have to like worry about from a technical perspective, again, like we were talking about earlier, where it's about getting out of your own way.
Yes.
I sort of just look at it and go, okay, how much do I have to get out of the way before I can just start playing with this?
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
it's like
Mm.
if I have to do a ton of memorization,
Mhm.
that's what I'll jump into first because I just want to get that out of the way so that when I start rehearsing and when
Right.
I start like playing around with it, I'm not just sitting there going, wait, what's my line?
Yeah.
Or even not even like what's my line, but
Mhm.
like where it's not second nature
Mhm.
and it's just sort of like clumsy.
Yeah.
You probably are familiar with like that feeling of where it's like you kind of have the lines down, but
Mhm.
not quite enough where it's like fluid.
Right.
Have you ever come back to a scene after you've done an audition for it?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always better the second time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Especially like when you watch it, and I think like I've seen like a scene where I shot something. I did the audition. I went on set. I shot it, and I looked back on it. Um, when the movie or the show came out. I'm watching myself. I'm like, oh, I feel like I like knowing what I know now. I feel like I could have done a better job. You
Yeah.
always like, you know what I mean?
Well, you want that feeling though.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
which is good because it
yeah.
shows progress.
Yeah, it means you're growing as
Yeah.
a creative, which
Mhm.
is like essential.
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean, I in all when I was making music, for example, every time I would make a track, I would be like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever made. I should release this."
You're right.
And then I would come back like a month later and be like, "This sucks," because I had learned more in the time between, and
Right.
I feel like
Mm.
that is a very important thing. You don't want to sit there for like 6 months sitting and thinking like everything you do is like the greatest,
Right.
because then it means you're not really like
Yeah. No,
playing
I mean,
around and
yeah,
finding new ways to approach things.
100%. Yeah.
It's good to have grace for yourself and be like,
Yeah.
well, I didn't know quite as much, so that was still a pretty good effort.
Yeah.
But you
yeah.
don't want to just be sitting there going, "This rocks."
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, no, yeah, a little self criticism is not the worst thing. In the
No,
world.
it's not. I mean, like sometimes you also got to be able to look at yourself and be like, yeah, that was a good job. Like I did some good stuff here.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
you
Oh
know-
well, I mean, that's like the other side. Is like you got to have. I think
Mhm.
because like every once in a while, I'll have horrible auditions.
Right.
You know, where it's like literally I'll have
So
I'll have 3 days to work on a tape. I'll
Mhm.
work on it for all 3 days,
Mhm.
and I'll hit record for the final time,
Mhm.
and I'll send it in knowing like this sucks because it just didn't come together. You know,
Right, right.
or that self-critical voice is particular.
Yeah.
Usually, what happens is it's
Yeah.
just your
Mhm.
inner critic being particularly loud
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah. It's
Um,
funny because it's such a weird feeling because now that I actually look back at all the auditions that I've booked,
Right.
I think maybe like two, at least like maybe 2/3 of them,
hmm
I booked them because I didn't care as much about them.
Yeah, you weren't precious.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
One of them I actually booked when I was in Australia, where I just filmed it at 11 p.m. I was like super tired.
hmm
I was like, oh, I'm just gonna send this in.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so bad. I thought it was absolutely awful. I was like, I would never in a million years like cast this, whoever this is.
hmm
And then for some reason they just liked it.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that like what you may think is bad or like awful or horrible
Yeah.
might be like a masterpiece for someone else.
Well, 100%.
You know?
And like what you see, especially if you're
Mm-hmm.
like one of those people, I certainly am like this sometimes where I'm a very self-critical person when it comes to
Yeah.
like the work I do. Like I have pretty high expectations for what I try to do.
Yeah.
But the result is like, you know, most people will think what you do is better than you do.
Yeah. That's so
You know?
true. Because it's so easy to criticize yourself, but
You only
if
see
you have
flaws.
like a third lens to
Yeah.
Mm.
Like an example for this is like if you ever talk to people and they're like, "Oh yeah, like I have a weird line on my face, I really wish I could get rid of it." And then you're staring at their face and like, "What are you talking about? Like I don't see anything." And then it's like if you glare
gotta
hard
really-
enough,
you
you're like
gotta,
"I guess."
I mean, pull out your magnifying glass and like zoom in on that skin, right?
Yeah. But if you sit with
Oh man.
you also, it's just like, particularly with acting, where you're sitting there and you're watching your own self tapes back for like 3 hours a week as you shoot them and oh, that's something else I don't really do.
Mm.
I don't watch my self tapes back while I'm doing them.
Oh, you don't?
No.
So you kind
Every
of,
once in a
you
while,
okay. So you
if
feel
if I think one is like, I think that was the take,
okay.
I'll watch it back just to make sure that I didn't
Interesting.
screw up the framing or like miss my blocking
So
or
you,
something
so you
like
just
that.
trust your feeling, like knowing it's a good tape before you send it in. I mean, that's awesome. That's,
Yeah. Well, it makes it faster.
Yeah.
And it really quiets down two things. First, it quiets down the inner critic because you're not sitting there watching
Yeah.
it back going, "This isn't getting any better.
Right.
Oh my God, why am I doing that with my face?" Like,
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah. Like, all of that stuff is just useless while you're taping an audition.
So you barely edit it. That's what you're saying. Because if you're editing it, then you must look at it.
Editing? What do you mean?
What are you saying? Are you saying that, let's say you film something and it's like
Yeah.
a tape, you're not gonna watch yourself before you send it in?
Oh no, I'll watch myself when I send it in for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
So
like you have to do that to cut the tail and off,
right.
head and tail off. You need to make sure that like at the
So
end of the
sorry.
day,
What?
you do have to ensure the quality of your tape. I mean, like
In the moment when you're
I do
shooting?
not go to the back of my camera or my
Oh, I
phone
see. Okay, got
and
it.
like watch my tape,
Right.
my take after take after take.
I see. Okay.
Because the other thing I think you can fall into, and this is what's great about working with a coach or
Mhm.
like fellow actors that you really trust,
Mm-hmm.
is you don't want to fall into the trap, I think, of becoming I do this and it always is bad when I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Being a director and an actor at the same time.
Yeah.
Because what can happen is you sit there
Yeah.
and you're trying to direct the scene from the back of the camera
Mhm.
and then also get all of that out of your head
Mm-hmm.
when you're being a character in front of the camera. And I think it's two totally different sides of the creative brain that don't like mix very well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. The last thing you want to be doing is really, nitpicking on yourself as you're shooting.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not gonna get anywhere.
Or just like the analytical brain, I don't, at least for me,
Yeah.
does not play very nicely
Mm.
with the actor brain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That the analysis is for the prep.
Yeah.
It's for, use your thinker for
Yeah.
when you're breaking down the script.
Totally.
And then just try to do that work so you aren't thinking
No,
as
I
much
mean,
as you
100%.
can.
I also I feel like it's not really your job to direct yourself.
Mhm.
Your job is to give an interesting take
Yeah.
that will make it, through the next round.
Mhm.
You want to show them good enough. I feel like also, I've heard this before where some actors actually kind of hold back in their auditions a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Because yeah, I mean, again, I'm not sure I fully agree with this, but I've heard some of them actually do hold back because they're like, you know what, I'm gonna kind of give them a glimpse of what I can do, so they're gonna be like, so they can't help themselves, but they cast me, so they can see what the full product is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Again, I don't know how much this.
I mean, I guess
I feel like
it's
it's like a risky
strategy.
road.
I can't really. I've never tried to do that, so I can't really like speak to that because it's like
Yeah.
if that works for people, and I'm sure that does work for people,
Mhm.
that makes sense to me. But like my thought is always like, if I'm a director,
Mhm.
it's way easier to get someone to just chill out a little bit and tone down a performance than it is to try to like bring somebody up,
Mhm.
you know? And it's just like interesting choices are always more interesting the like more life you give those choices.
Mhm.
So I was thinking about this the other day actually. I can't remember what show I was watching, but I was just sitting there and I was like, there's some amazing performances that are so out there,
Mhm.
where it's just like you have these huge personalities and they are totally believable. And like me and you, like having this conversation, we're animated, our voices change tons.
Mhm.
But like if I was doing this with my hands and talking like this in audition, I would be like, do less, man. Like, what are you doing? Like
Right.
you look so weird right now.
It does, yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like if it's real and it's coming from like a naturalistic
Yeah.
motivation,
If the character calls
if
for
the
it.
character calls for it,
Yeah.
then yeah,
Yeah. I mean, in theory,
don't be boring. That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just anything is better than
I mean,
being
again, like
boring to watch.
there's so many boring lines that you might think that they're just so plain
Yeah,
and it's gonna look flat and boring. But again, there's so many ways to make them interesting. And again, it's not about like how you say the lines, but sometimes just like really doing some sort of business that will make the line interesting. Like again, I can't think of anything, but if you're taking a smoke while you're saying a very weird line or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes just the situation or the action that you're doing
hmm
while you say the line makes for a very funny scenario.
Oh,
And
100%.
again, so sometimes you don't even have to try anything with a line. It's just your behavior and then how you're actually acting up and what you're doing in the scene can just be enough, really, honestly.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it usually is enough.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
totally honest. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, no, it's great. Okay, so I've got some questions here as well.
Oh God.
Well, actually, let me just finish this real quick. So, let's say you get this 14-page audition.
Mhm.
Do you prioritize memorizing the lines over kind of like giving it a somewhat of a good take, or Like how much is like memorizing the lines important to you, like compared to making sure that you actually break down the beats and like give a really really good performance, even though the lines are not fully there.
Right. I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I mean, to me, like making sure that I hit the beats is like, I guess I should say not necessarily memorizing the lines as much as
Yeah.
like understanding the scene.
Mhm.
And it's two sides of the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
if you don't know how the scene goes, like if you don't understand the structure of the scene,
Yeah.
I don't think you really understand the lines. And I think if you don't know the lines, it's difficult to understand like the nuance of the structure of a scene. But I'm not precious with lines.
Right.
Like if I do a great take and I go, that felt fantastic, and then my coach or the actor I'm working with or something is like, oh, well, you kind of screwed up. Like it's, he went to the bar, not he was going to the bar. I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, and honestly,
in the grand scheme of things, it's not gonna make or break the audition.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will even get like a little bit too unprecious, where it's like, well, it's like, sometimes it's just like, you're like, dude, this is too good. Like, I know that I like dropped a whole line, but like, this is like,
Flawless
this was
victory.
such a good take.
Man, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the take is just so good that'll literally carry, or you can literally get away with whatever.
Pretty much.
Excuse
Yeah.
my language, but yeah. Anyways, so
I hope not.
you could probably like get away with like anything as long as the take is good, right? So
to an extent, yeah.
to an
And I
extent.
mean, also that depends on like the casting director. Some are going to be pickier than others,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that. Oh yeah, to your original question.
Yeah.
Understanding like the structure of a scene and the flow of a scene is pretty much the same thing as knowing your lines.
Yeah.
And that both of those come after I dream about a scene. So I will read a scene like a movie fan.
Oh.
I will just read it like going like, oh, this would look so cool if it was like this, or
Right.
I really try to like actually picture it in my head how it would go and hear the lines as I'm reading them. And then you go from there. Because at least for me, it's like the process of memorizing lines is not very fun.
Yeah.
So I want to enjoy a scene and have fun
Right.
with it before I spend a day just
I mean, especially if you're
running lines. And
especially if you're very crunched on time, where you have like a day or two. And
Yeah.
if you have like a 14-page audition, then chances are, again, it depends, but chances are like you might or you might not have time to even memorize everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, where a lot of people really, they stress so much on the fact that they need to be line word to word perfect,
yes.
that they lose the essence of the character, and then
Yeah.
they end up like forgetting their goals, and they end up forgetting like what's the scene, like
Yeah.
what's really happening in the scene, right? So
Yeah.
I agree. Honestly, I really agree. I don't think like
Well, you want to be of service, right? Like
yeah.
if you're a day player and you are just, they're just trying to like get their day
Yeah.
and you are not super important, and it's like, it's like, dude, you're a cashier in this scene. Like what do you mean your motivation? Like you're like checking out the main character. Like relax,
Like settle down.
And I'm not trying to like denigrate roles like that, because those are fucking sweet roles. But like your job is to serve the story and make life easy for the director and the other people making the show.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. I agree.
you want to do that. You don't want to be. Yeah.
I mean, again, like if you're just like having like a principal or like a quick sort of an appearance on a show, again, you're just like advancing the story. Like you're not really doing anything. You're not trying. Again, like there's always opportunity for you to recur, as a character. But
Yeah.
chances are, if you're like the mailman who was just dropping off the post or something, then you're just dropping off the post and you're leaving. Like that's you're helping advance the story. So you're not like but yeah. Okay, cool. So that's good. Let's talk about dreams. How about
Ooh,
that?
Okay.
So again, I feel like it's a very good question as far as like, because like a lot of actors kind of like they're taking this kind of like, oh, you know what? Like I want to make it to Hollywood. I want to, be the next star. And
Yeah.
some of them are just like, you know what? I like acting.
Mhm.
I just want to get the few roles. I think it's cute, but
Yeah.
we'll see where it goes. Where are you on this? Like, is like acting kind of your dream, or like
Acting
is there something
acting
bigger?
is absolutely my dream.
Yeah.
I try not to attach it to like too specific a thing
Hmm.
because like uh, you know, 50 people in the world
Yeah.
get to be a superstar.
Right.
So that's like
50
it.
people, you said?
Well, yeah, like if you think about like the
Oh,
Brad Pitts and
gotcha.
the
Yeah,
Angelina
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Jolies and all that kind of stuff, that it's a very short list of people.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think for me for acting, I have I mean, first of all, I love acting.
Mhm.
Like if I could do this for the rest of my life and make a living doing it, I would be very happy.
Yeah.
In any capacity.
Mhm.
And then there's the ambitious part of me that it's like
Mhm.
what I would love is first of all, like I'm a movie cultist. I love film. So there are a few directors that I would absolutely love to work with in any capacity. And then I think the other big goal for me is like I would love to have a lead role in a movie that I would want to watch.
Hmm.
You know?
So
And
let's talk about that a little bit. Like
yeah.
dream role. What do you like? Give us a taste.
Well,
What is
I mean, it's hard not to like
what is like your biggest dream role? If you could like literally pick any role you want.
well, I'm like a big fan of like really cool sci-fi and stuff.
Okay.
So like Blade Runner, like Harrison Ford's role in the original
Oof.
Blade Runner would have
Right.
been amazing.
Yeah.
Like probably cliche at this point, but like
Right.
Timothy
The-
Chalamet's role in Dune. Like
Oh,
that's a
I
cool
see.
role. Well, because
And you
it
kind of like, I can see you like, it's
oh,
like you kind of have like a Timothy Chalamet
I'll take it, but
sort
like
of a vibe, you know. Maybe if you could.
I think what
Oh,
is cool about those roles to me
yeah.
is they are artful.
Yep.
They're blockbusters, and I love a good blockbuster too. Like I really like like a movie of grand scope
Yep.
or scale.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like a interstellar monarchistic
Matthew McConaughey. Okay.
war. It's cool.
You think you
Well,
take
like
him on?
stuff like that is really cool.
I mean, Interstellar is like definitely like one of the best space sci-fi movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It's absolutely phenomenal. The story,
it's
the
so
sets.
underrated. I know it's not like underrated because
Yeah,
a
no,
lot of people think it's an incredible sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
I don't think people talk about that movie as much as they should.
Yeah.
And I'm not like I
Yeah.
hugely respect Christopher Nolan.
Right.
But I'm not like those guys who are like huge Christopher Nolan fans.
Rest. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not really me,
Yeah.
but I'm an enormous Interstellar fan.
Yeah.
I think that movie is unbelievable.
I think like the reason why Interstellar got me so much is because, believe it or not, again, I just I love like astrophysics and
Yeah.
astronomics. I actually became like almost considered like becoming an astrophysics at some point.
I
in my
could
life.
absolutely see that. That checked
I
out.
love like I just like I'm so fascinated, but like space and the fact that we're just like a small little dot in the entire universe.
Yeah.
And again, like anything like that goes on like black holes and quantum physics and whatever else there is, stars and whatnot. It honestly fascinates me.
It's incredible. The
yeah.
fabric of the universe.
Yeah.
The underpinnings of all reality
And
are
I feel like sometimes
incredible.
in movies, absolutely. And like in movies, sometimes what they do is that they take these concepts from astrophysics and planets, and then they make like Star Wars or whatever.
Yeah.
And they make it like, I mean, again, not to take anything from Star Wars.
No, Star Wars is great.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing series. But again, like sometimes everything is just like stretched out, right? Where
Mhm.
as Interstellar, they kind of keep it in the realm of realism,
Yes.
where like it's something that can
It's a
actually
little more grounded.
it's more grounded. It's something that can actually happen,
Right.
right? But again, like
Well, what I love about Interstellar
Yeah.
and funnily enough, like
Yeah.
Blade Runner does the exact same thing,
yeah,
which is it's science fiction. One of my criteria for what makes a great science fiction movie is like, okay, it has to be a great movie. In my case, like preferably a drama.
mhm,
And it could only happen
yep,
given the constraints of the universe of this science fiction thing.
right,
So, like Blade Runner only happens because Tyrell started making replicants. But the question fundamentally the Blade Runner proposes
Mhm.
about the nature of humanity and the soul,
Yeah.
and it's such a human question that is exposed by pulling these impossible things out of the
Mhm.
world of sci-fi,
Mhm.
and it's what it is it's sort of making like a human philosophical question
Mhm.
explicit.
Mhm.
The same with Interstellar, which is like taking that idea of time
Mhm.
and
Yep.
more importantly, our relationship
Yep.
to time in the
Yes.
context of family
Yep.
and love
Yep.
and separation.
Mhm.
And so in Interstellar, you have this incredible thing where it's like there's that one scene, the scene that always gets me from Interstellar. I think it's like one of the greatest scenes in cinema
Yep.
is where Matthew McConaughey's character comes back from the high gravity planet
Yes.
and is watching
Yep.
30 years of messages from his kids.
Yes, and he can't. Yeah.
And his
Heartbreaking.
son grows old, has a grandson. His grandson dies in the span of 2 minutes.
I know.
And then his daughter finally gives him a call after
It was
30 years.
emotional.
Like
Yes.
I will cry every time I watch that scene.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it is, but for me,
Yeah.
that is why I love sci-fi.
Yep. Yeah.
And it is,
Because you know what, honestly, man, the reason why this scene specifically gets you so much, it's because it's realistic. Again, it's within the constraints of what can actually happen
mhm.
if something like this were to occur.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Again, not everyone knows or like is very versed in like astrophysics, but the concept of time and space is actually true. You know, if you were to travel at a speed of light in space, time will pass differently for you than for someone else who's on Earth.
Yeah,
Which is something that
relativistic
is kind of
physics is crazy.
hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
And again, like if someone didn't watch Interstellar, they probably wouldn't have known this, unless you're,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Unless you're like
yeah,
a geek.
a big
Like
geek,
me.
and you
Yeah.
read a little bit,
Or
but
you.
it is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But also, like, chances are, like, we're never gonna be able to go that fast anyway. So
Well, I mean, the math is pretty interesting, to be honest.
yeah.
Like, it's a matter of energy density.
Mm.
Like, if you get to a practical place with fusion reactors and like superconducting materials and stuff,
Yeah.
it becomes pretty like surprisingly practical.
Mhm.
Because all you're really doing is accelerating at 9.8 meters per second.
Yep.
Right? You're
Yep.
just replicating Earth's gravity because you can't squish everybody.
Yep.
And you also need to make sure everybody's like bones don't fall apart.
Right.
So if you have enough fuel to just continuously accelerate at 9.8 meters per second
Mhm.
squared.
Yeah. Somebody was paying attention in physics.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not, but I still loved it. Like
Oh,
the fuel mass required if
Right.
you're talking about a 100% efficient fuel is like not that crazy.
Yeah.
Like the thing about it is it relies specifically on like a go or no go engineering and physics development where it's like, okay, well we kind of either
Mhm.
figure out fusion or like antimatter or not.
Right.
And if we don't, we
Yep.
never go relativistic speeds.
Yeah.
But if we do,
Mhm.
then we can explore the universe.
Interesting.
So that's quite exciting.
Well, felt like you probably know as much as me in astrophysics.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I was certainly not thinking I was getting a physics degree.
That was an interesting line we took there, but let's
Yeah.
just maybe bring it back to some.
Yeah, right. It's just something a little bit more topical.
But
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so the
actually,
dream roles. Let's
I-
go back to dream roles.
I have a segue for that if you want.
Oh, really? Do you?
Yeah, I'm curious what you think about the role of curiosity in,
In the
reaching for your dreams, the topic of this podcast.
curiosity.
Yeah, because like for me, it's like I love going down rabbit holes like that
Mm-hmm.
where, you're up at 3 a.m. on Wikipedia and you're
Okay.
doing like energy mass requirement calculations, like just because I don't know, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like you follow those rabbit holes down in your brain and
Yeah.
you learn something new. And I tend to find that those things cross over
Mhm.
where it's like, I have no clue what the relationship between acting and astrophysics is.
Right.
But I do think there's a relationship between acting and curiosity and like a fixation on a topic and following those paths
Mhm.
into unexpected places. So yeah, I'm curious. Like, I guess a better question is like, what role did curiosity play for you into following the path that you have? Because as far as I know,
Well, I mean,
you have two fairly different career paths.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always like been like more of a very by nature curious person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I love like diving into books and reading and knowing things. Like, like I love learning about different ways to make money. I love learning about different ways to kind of stay healthy and do different things that I like that will, make my life as full as possible. But yeah, I mean, I feel like curiosity is really the fuel to everything you do in life when you think about it. If you're not curious at all, then you're not gonna have the drive to go after what you really want because you don't want it badly enough.
Hmm.
You're not interested in it.
Yeah.
You're not curious about it. You know. So
Well,
again,
and it won't bring you the joy.
what brings me to joy?
It won't bring you the joy
Oh,
if you're
it
not
won't.
curious
Yeah,
about
yeah,
something. Like,
yeah. It won't. No, I mean,
yeah,
because you're just doing it for the sake of doing it.
yeah, there has to be some
Right.
natural instinct that you're following down
Yeah.
a path.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I fully agree, and I feel like a lot of people maybe don't want to admit it to themselves, but like we're all curious by nature,
Hmm.
to a certain extent, where we all want validation and love, and we're all looking for these things. We're curious whether or not we're gonna get there one day.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's kind of my view on curiosity. But let's go back.
Okay.
Let's
I'll let you get this ship back on
yes,
course here.
let's steer the ship back into the right direction. But that was an interesting one where we went like from acting to astrophysics to space to God knows where next. But okay, so how do you okay, that's actually a very good one. How do you handle rejections? Like, I mean, obviously it's a
Mm.
very easy, obviously like the entertainment industry is a very
Yeah.
easy industry to where, I mean, you get rejected pretty much 90% of the time.
Do you want
Oh,
I have a very simple answer for this.
go for it.
I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, I just
Well,
don't care.
right.
Like,
Well, how straightforward that was.
I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like most of the time
Mhm.
I'm a very forward-looking person.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, I think it's valuable to like consider the past and learn from it and integrate that into your sort of
Yeah.
strategy moving forward
Yep.
for life.
Yep.
But I am not one of those people who goes like, like,
So, like, do you ever like look at a scene where you auditioned for, you didn't get it,
mhm.
right? So someone else got it, and then you're watching the clip, and you're like, I mean, I think my audition was better than that. I felt like I did a better job.
Oh, that's actually really
You
that's
know, like, I
really
mean,
funny because I saw this with a show
yeah,
recently. I forget what show. It was like a cop procedural.
yeah,
I auditioned for this part, and this was like very early into when I started auditioning,
yeah,
and I thought I did a great audition.
yeah.
Um, and I didn't get it, and
Your friend got it.
randomly my mom
Your
was,
mom.
was like, "Hey, you remember that part you auditioned for?" Because this is when I was
Your
telling them
mom saw
about.
the thing.
This was like when I was telling them about every audition I was doing, right?
Right. So your mom was watching it, and she
Yeah.
saw.
Well, they were like watching
Right.
TV, and they were like, and my mom was like, "Hey, I remember that audition," like, and she sent me the clip from it,
Right.
and it was so different to what I had done, but it was hysterically funny, and it was not like a comedic scene, like it was like I thought I played it like
Ah,
straight, like
interesting.
very well,
Right.
but some guy had come in and done it just so weird and so funny and really well, of course, as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, it
But
worked,
I
right?
was
So, yeah.
just like, man, that's great. Like I loved that guy
Right.
got that part because
Yeah.
I'm glad that scene
Yeah.
is like that in the show.
Yeah. Because you want it to look like yours.
There is not a world where I would have done the scene that way,
Right.
and it's a better scene the way he did it for sure.
Had the director directed you, let's consider a scenario where you did get the job,
Yeah.
and then the director would tell you on set, I want you to do it in this sort of weird way that
Yeah,
you're
it really
describing.
like decided
Would
to
you have
change
been able
gears.
to go there, do you think? Or
I think so. I think
I guess it's kind of like, it's a very hypothetical scenario, so it's kind of
it
it's
is.
very hard to answer this question, I guess. But
100%. And I mean, that depends on things like how is the director,
right,
because like you don't want the director to sit there and like give you a line read.
right,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know,
hmm
but
I guess like a
yeah,
certain part of you would like don't want to say no, because if you say no, you feel like you're not giving your all, I guess.
no, not at all. I think it
No.
would have been very difficult to get me to understand the scene from that perspective
Mm-hmm.
because there is nothing in that script
Yep.
that or in those sides
Yep.
or the tone of that show
Yep.
that would have suggested
Yep.
that was like the performance that
Got it.
that they would have been looking for.
Yeah, and I get
And I would have been like, "Are you like sure you want me to do it like that? Are you sure?"
right. Re-question it.
Yeah, but I'm just like imagining myself on set.
Yeah.
I do think the
Mhm.
result,
Yeah.
it was a great choice. Like
Yes.
it was
I
awesome.
mean, he got cast. I hope it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like really actually when I saw that
Yeah.
I was like really happy that he had got that part
Yeah.
and got to do it like that and then
Right.
got to set
Yep.
and the director let him do it like that
Right.
because I was like okay, I would never have expected that this show
Right.
would have like
Yeah.
had that part go like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I was like, okay, that's cool.
Right.
I'm really glad that
I mean,
happened.
yeah. I mean, there's like definitely some. I mean, that's like very commendable as well. That you got a lot of respect for other people's work, right? Because again,
Oh
it's
yeah.
very easy to kind of like criticize somebody and be like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I've done a better job than whatever this is.
Mhm.
Because also like like at the end of the day, he or she did get the job and
Yeah.
not you, right? So
100%.
credits to them.
Well, that comes down to the thing with, getting lucky and the stars aligning.
yeah,
It's like I have no idea what like you try to figure out kind of what the director is looking for or the
yeah, you
producers are
give
looking
yourself
for.
like a ballpark and like you're trying to give a range of like, okay, that's where they want to be, but again, you can never be 100% sure,
No.
right? So
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so like I try to not think about too much of things as like, oh, I did it better than them or like I did it I think better is like a really weird word in like the creative world.
mhm,
Because like I think there are some things that are just like objectively better if you put in way more effort or if you like consider things much more carefully. It's different,
mhm.
you know?
Yep.
So and I think that saves me from a lot of the like bitterness of rejection in our line of work is
Mhm.
I don't think like, oh well I'm a way better actor than them. I do that way better than them. I just go like, oh well I'm a much different actor than them.
Mhm.
Or like sometimes in the back of my head I'm like I'm a
Mhm.
better actor than them.
Yeah.
But like most of the time I just try to be like really respectful that like there's no rules to any of this.
Mhm.
Like there's no who's to say like I watch a bunch of 80s movies and like the acting from my perspective is bad.
Mhm.
But I love those movies.
Mhm.
And everybody loves those movies and like they're absolutely cherished pieces of cinema history.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you gave a performance like that in a modern audition, they would be like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah, I guess like it also like just shows evolution. What used to be like considered like extraordinary back in the
Totally, but
days,
it's like a per
now
project
it's just kind
thing
of
too.
very casual. It's
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah.
they kind of expect you to kind of
Mhm.
know how to do this.
Yeah. But there's even some actors where it's like
Yeah.
you have some actors where it's like they'll do a performance and it's really flat.
Yep.
Or it's not out there at all. It's quite reserved.
Mhm.
And you'll be glued to the screen.
Yep.
And there are some actors out there who if you like famous actors where if you watch them do
Yep.
a reserved performance,
Mhm.
you'd be asleep in your seat. So there's that's what I'm saying. It's like there's so many different things that go into it
Top 10 actors you slept.
that have nothing to do with better,
You slept on while watching.
you know?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I love that. That's great. Okay. Great. Okay, so rejection doesn't affect you at all whatsoever. It's
I mean,
not,
it does a little bit every once in a while. But
right, but not a point where you would take it personal and go.
no.
right.
Not at all.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of embrace rejection in this field, because you're gonna be facing a lot of them.
Well, you know what? I just
So-
assume the answer is no. I think that's the other thing when it comes to like, I assume that I'm not going to get most auditions because,
Yeah.
again, like I'm just so aware of.
It's a very good philosophy to have, actually.
Yeah.
Where you go into the audition and then.
Well, it's like I believe that I could get any audition I go out for.
Mhm.
I assume that I'm not going to get 95% of them.
Yeah, so I guess it takes some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
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 So you're
And
like,
it's just way more fun.
It does, I guess, like, because you're doing it, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna get it anyway. But if you do, great, because I thought I was not gonna get it. So if you do,
Totally.
it, it's like a surprise.
Yeah,
It
for
becomes like a
sure.
surprise. So, I mean, that's a great way to look at it. It's a good way to kind of just like relieve some of the pressure, and perhaps like just with some of the nerves that people have sometimes during auditions.
Mhm.
It's great. It's great. Okay.
What about you though? I'm curious. How do you handle rejection? I probably pretty well, I'd imagine. But like,
Rejections. I mean, I don't like really. I used to like really care about that kind of stuff a lot
Right.
starting out, but then I just noticed like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And I feel like for me, again, I can't speak for everyone, but um, I don't really like whether I make it as an actor or not. And I'm very blessed as to where I am right now, and I'm obviously like booking more, and
Well, to even like get to entertain the
yeah,
dream of being an actor is
yeah,
an incredible privilege.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
like, just like the fact that you're not quitting by itself is already an achievement because,
That's true.
I mean, what I mean? Like, I can't tell you, like, how many people they start and then they see literally little to no results at all within a year
Yeah.
and then they peace out,
Yeah.
And so the fact that you stuck around and you kept going because you had the drive, that's honestly like you've already passed like more than, I don't know what the statistics are, but I'm going to assume that more than 40 or 50% of people who just drop out.
Well, yeah, that's actually a really interesting point because I think about that sometimes.
Yeah.
I was chatting with a friend of mine actually who was like, um, he had just gotten an agent for the first time, and he was starting to feel, I think, like that weight of where it's like, oh my god, I have to really like start trying to do this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and the thing I pointed out to him is like, it's like the law. It's not even the law of big numbers. I'm just making crap up at this point. But like when you start dividing, you start to realize that you're actually not doing too bad.
Mhm.
Like there's probably like, I don't know what the actual number is. There's like, let's say there's 5 million actors in the world. There's probably more than that. But let's just say there's 5 million actors.
Mhm.
For those 5 million actors or people who are trying to be actors,
Mhm.
there's 500 million people or 50 million people who want to be actors.
Yep.
So you're 1 in 10 already.
Mhm.
And then if you go from there's 500 million people who are actors to their actors who have managed to get an agent, divided by 10 again.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actors who have an agent and they're actually putting in the work and doing a really good job in their auditions, divided by 10 again.
Mhm.
And then actors who are have an agent, are putting in the work, do really good auditions, and then book one, like the smallest role you could think of.
Yep. Yep.
Divided by 10 again.
Yeah.
And you really quickly start to get into like a very small pool of people.
Yeah.
It's still like a big pool of people
Yeah.
for a very small number of spots,
Mhm.
but I think that like really works to alleviate some of the like,
Yep.
oh my God, it's 1 in a million.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of.
Yeah, I guess like if you quickly kind of compute this in your head, then yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's it's only a small people. It's only a small pool of people that really do get there. So, I agree.
Well, and the cool part about that is like almost all of that stuff that is in your control.
Mhm.
It
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, like we get really, I guess we start like dwelling on these things that we can't really control.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read like a story or like an article online as to why Ryan Reynolds wasn't getting booked a lot in the beginning,
Right.
and he didn't understand why, which was really funny because you would think of like Ryan Reynolds and like a guy as good
Yeah,
looking,
absolutely gorgeous.
gorgeous, beautiful, very talented,
funny as hell,
literally funny as hell, which a lot of people don't have, right? So, um, literally, so like he was not getting work, and apparently, from what I read, the reason why he was not booking, it's because he was going up for these roles that he was too good looking for.
right?
Like,
Yeah.
like he was like going up for these, like, again, I don't know, but like like I think that's the reason why he got like, and then he found out like 6 months later through his agent,
Right.
after requesting some feedback, and they're like, Ryan,
sorry, bro, you're too handsome.
you're too handsome. So actually, why you didn't get it?
What a terrible reason to not book. Oh, that sucks.
I mean, like you made it when you start getting rejections about like your look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Good facts.
but anyway, again, yeah, you can't really like pick
No,
on.
but that's like the thing with actors, right? It's like everybody's too something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're too quiet. You're too loud. You're too excited, you're too boring, you're too good looking, you're too ugly, you're too whatever. There's like a fucking
Yeah.
there's a million things, pardon my
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
There's like a million reasons why somebody could say no,
Mm-hmm.
which is to me like makes the no's way less painful.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Suddenly it's like all that really matters is the yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They have a million reasons to say no and like a very, very, very small number of reasons to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like when you get that one yes,
Yeah.
it's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like when I buy a lottery ticket every once in a while,
Yeah.
I do not expect to win the lottery.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
If I did, that would be awesome. But like, you know?
I'm expected to win $7 million today. If I don't
There
get
you
it, then there must be something wrong with the machine.
You started spending the
gonna go-
money already, right?
Right.
Yeah, nice.
Oh man, I love that. It's great. It's great. I mean, yeah, I just feel like it's rejections and really embracing that. A lot of things that you can't really control, and the faster I guess you can embrace it, the faster you can make peace with it,
Yeah.
the faster you'll grow as an actor.
Totally.
I feel, right?
Well, and I think, acting is a long game, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
anything you can do to sort of this is the film business in general too. And I think any career where it's like a significant portion of it is
Yeah.
passion.
mm-hmm.
And that's longevity matters.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you can do either mindset wise or practically
Yeah.
just to make it easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and make you just like,
Mhm.
I love acting. The day I stop loving acting, I will not be an actor anymore.
Yeah, I think
I cannot ever foresee that day,
right.
but that is exactly what would happen.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. Again, that's kind of the fuel, right? It's you gotta do acting for the love of it.
Mhm.
If you're doing it to get famous or whatever else,
Good luck.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be.
I'm rooting for you.
It's not
but-
just that. Also, like you can kind of sense it in your acting that you're coming from a place of desperation,
Yeah, you
where
need
you want to
this
get
part.
so like you want to get famous or you want to. Well, as a matter of fact, I mean, I know like I have some friends. I actually know some people as well that the reason why they want to act is because they want to get famous, and some of them have it so strong, like it's so strong.
I know a
They
few people
want
like
them
that
so
too.
badly that they do make it. Like sometimes, like
Right.
again, like I heard this before, where like I think the most important thing that people don't have is a strong why when it comes to acting.
Right.
That's something that a coach in LA asked me. He's like, "What's your why?" And I didn't know what my why was at the time.
Right.
Right? I thought like, oh, I mean, I just want to. I mean, at the time, that's what I said.
Mhm.
I just want to, like make money off of it, and I just want to like perform. But like when you're coming from a place from like when you actually start to dig deeper as to like why, for example, you want to act, and I learned that the reason why I really wanted to act is because my mom had like the dream of becoming a singer, and we came from a very poor country where she didn't have this luxury, where my grandparents didn't have money, so she had a
Well,
dream.
it's almost a generational dream, right?
Yes, so like I'm kind of like fulfilling both of our dreams
Yeah.
at the same time. So again, like that's definitely a stronger why as like, oh, I want to get famous. When you're actually doing
Right.
something to fulfill like something bigger than just like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't become about you anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It becomes about something bigger, and then that translates into your acting more. And you're not gonna come from a place of desperation. You're not gonna get into your head.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to play, right? You're not gonna like the lines are magically gonna be there all the time
Mhm.
because you're so connected. You're not gonna forget your line. You know already what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, does it make sense? You know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. I think the danger of like wanting to get into acting, I think there are two like things that make it tough, which is one, I think it's a insatiable beast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, let's say you get your first guest star.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great, but I'm not a lead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a series reg. It's not enough.
Yep.
Okay, you get a series reg. Well, this show isn't as good as some other show.
Right. It's just
And then you
yours,
get some great show as
Yeah.
a lead.
Mhm.
And then you're like, well, that's great, but it's not a feature film. And it just sort of goes on and on and on. And,
Right,
and it's
right,
like
right.
there's no like intrinsic
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
satisfaction of
Mhm.
doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you approach it, and I'm not knocking people who are just trying to get famous either.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
power to you. If you want to do that, go for it.
Yeah.
I think if you approach it in a perspective of like, for me, why I love acting, I think a big part is like it leads to a deeper, or it can lead to a deeper understanding of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like in studying characters
Yeah.
and story, you sort of start to understand your own story and your own character a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And to really, I think, serve a greater variety of characters and stories well,
Yep.
you have to become a little bit of like a student of humanity.
Yes.
You know, you have to watch people, and you have to
Yep.
really try to empathize and understand where people are coming from, whether
Mhm.
they're great people or terrible people.
Mhm.
And for me, it just makes I kind of already did that, so it gave me an outlet for it.
Yeah.
But it also like actively encourages that.
Mhm.
And I think that's really cool because you can apply that from the tiniest little part in the world to, you know, the lead for some blockbuster movie.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. No.
yeah. And I think that's like, it's probably a similar thing with like business. It's like, hey, if you want to start a Fortune 500 company, cool goal, you know,
Mhm.
and it's an attainable goal if you absolutely work your ass off.
Yeah.
But that's not; those are not steps.
Mhm.
Those are not like goals, as in like,
Yep.
oh, well, I want to build my business to this, or I want to even better. Like I know a lot about this industry, and I want to serve them really well.
Mhm.
That's a goal you absolutely like can fulfill and get the satisfaction of like accomplishing that thing you've set out to do for yourself.
Mhm.
And if you just keep doing that again and again and again and again,
Mhm.
it, you're probably going to end up somewhere pretty close to your
Yeah. I
original
mean,
goal anyways.
yeah. It's like it's again, it's just a theory of like if you keep doing something over and over, chances are you're gonna hit it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. Again, it's a matter of like just not giving up and like really, keeping on going
Mhm.
until you get to a place where you're satisfied with yourself,
Absolutely.
right? And I think I want to kind of like just wrap things up with this last little thing because I know like we've probably been going for a bit maybe longer than what we should, but
Hey, it's a good conversation.
it
though.
is, it is. I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying this. So are there like any future projects? Is there anything on in the works right now that you're working on, or any auditions coming up?
Well, I'm
Can you
working
give
right
us like
now
a little bit of
actually.
a?
Yeah, I'm putting together me and my fellow actor slash really good friend of mine,
Yep.
Alex Skinner. We are working on a play, which is going to
Oh,
be really good. Yeah.
you guys are putting up a play?
Yeah, we're putting up a
Wow,
play. I mean,
amazing.
it's pretty early stages. We're just like really focused
And
on
wow,
character
amazing.
and like playing around with it right now,
Mhm.
but it's going to be a pretty exciting endeavor, and it's we're putting on This Is Our Youth by Kenneth Lonergan, which is an
Wow.
incredible play.
Yes, that's
Um
amazing.
yeah, and so we're just like working like again,
Bit
early
by bit.
stages,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
something I'm really excited by. I think there's so much to explore, and the
Yes.
writing is unbelievable.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
And yeah, he's playing Dennis, I'm playing Warren, and
I love that. That's
yeah,
amazing.
he was over this morning. We were just working on accents.
Wow. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, when do you think this is gonna be ready to go? Like to.
Okay, I don't want to put it out there just yet because I
Right.
think it's like
I mean, that's pretty exciting. I didn't like. Yeah, I had no idea you were. Putting
yeah,
up
I
a play.
hadn't told you about that.
Right.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take us. If I had to guess,
Mm-hmm.
it'll probably take us in a few months into the new year. I think it should be looking really, really good.
Okay. I mean, make sure to let us know. I mean, like, we would love to.
Yeah, of course. Oh, you'll be the first one to know.
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
Please let me know.
I'll give you a preview.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even maybe we'll have you back here, and then you can talk about us.
That's
About
right.
the play and all that
Yeah.
you've done. Yeah, it'd be fun. Okay. Well, that's cool. That was nice.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank
been
you
a
so
pleasure.
much for being our first guest on this podcast. Again, thank you so much, guys, for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Olly Atkins, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you so much again, man. That was so much fun.
Bless, my friend. Cheers.
Cheers.